We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio on the Radio America Network. Don't forget to head on over to libertynation.com, a proud sponsor of this show. You can sign up to the daily briefing or subscribe to the member zone, or just check out the latest cutting-edge conservative news and analysis. Never reruns, always new and original material on libertynation.com. Conservative news where truth matters. Well, with a seeming proxy war being fought for the political soul of America, perhaps it's time to start asking some tough questions regarding what on earth the denizens of the news media think they're actually doing. Are they reporting fact and sifting the fiction? Or is it a grander game afoot that we, the mere consumers, are not yet privy to? To help us unravel this fourth estate frustration, we're joined by Liberty Nation's socio-economic correspondent, podcast host, and general man about town, Mr. Jeff Charles. Welcome, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Jeff, with CNN's Brian Stelter calling Tucker Carlson the new Alex Jones, it seems he was implying that Tucker chases after conspiracy theories, but Mr. Stelter has some form himself in this area. Care to provide a list?
Yeah, the list is actually long and distinguished. I mean, especially when it comes to the left-wing activist media in general. But I mean, to list off a few, I mean, you've got the Russiagate conspiracy theory, which is probably the most expensive conspiracy theory in recent memory. We've got the Lafayette Park lie. That's what I call it, TM. And of course, we would be remiss to forget the fine people hoax that the left-wing media in some ways still even promotes today.
Well, you can't blame them for that, Jeff, bearing in mind that President Biden also likes to repeat that one.
You just read my mind. I was going to say President Biden based his campaign on that. He said that the reason he got into the presidential race was because of this hoax. So when it comes to conspiracy theories, Stelter doesn't have much room to talk here.
So do we think that President Biden, now that he must surely know that the fine people on both sides things was a hoax, that his purpose for running is no more and therefore will be stepping down by the end of the week? Your thoughts, Jeff?
The chances of that happening are like negative 25.
So not so good. We shouldn't place a bet on that one. Not that we would ever endorse betting. Jeff, it seems that when one side of the political divide comes up with, let's call it a conspiracy theory, it's taken as fact, even when the actual facts turn out to say differently. And yet this is widely touted as something that is specific to the political right. Why is the political left getting a free pass on this?
Yeah, I mean, that's an excellent question. And, to be fair, I mean, on the right, we do like our conspiracy theories. I mean, that's undeniable.
Naturally.
However, however, the political left does get a pass because they control the primary institutions that are responsible for communication. Now, Fox News, they do tend to outperform left-wing media outlets, but still, you've got MSNBC, you've got CNN, and you've also got a lot of online news outlets as well that continue to promote these conspiracy theories as fact. Honestly, I think at this point in our political discourse, whether or not something is a conspiracy depends on the political affiliation of the person saying it. So I think a lot of times we accuse each other of being conspiracy theorists when we don't believe that what we believe is a conspiracy theory. It's kind of gone into a team sports type of mentality.
Actually, that's a very, very good point, Jeff. I mean, some would argue that the American public, they're in the firing line of a propaganda war here. News consumers are judged by the channels from which they get their media and news. And as you say, that there's the collapsing ratings of the left-leaning outlets, as former President Donald Trump pointed out on his Trump desk. I believe it was one of the most popular posts on there. He just pointed out the collapsing numbers specifically of CNN. I mean, it would be easy to assume that with these poor numbers, that they're losing the rating wars and thus the propaganda war. But it really doesn't feel like that, does it? Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. The thing is, we can't make the mistake of thinking that cable news is the only method by which they disseminate their propaganda. I mean, I had just mentioned an online news outlets. It's not just CNN. I mean, you have, Mother Jones, you have Vox, you have a lot of other both right and left leaning media outlets online where people are consuming their information. Also, the left is in charge of our educational institutions and our entertainment industry as well. So they have a lot of different ways to infuse their ideology and their narratives into the culture. It's not just cable news outlets.
Jumping back to the Tucker Carlson thing for a moment, Jeff, I think it's fair to say that both Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, they have a loyal audience who enjoy their content, but they don't necessarily take whatever these chaps say as the gospel. Yet that's what the opponents want everyone to believe, that if Alex Jones says something, that all of his listeners believe it 100%, and the same thing for Tucker Carlson, that all of his listeners believe and are on board with everything he says 100%. Do these activist media types, as you call them, really believe that news consumers are that stupid, that gullible?
Well, yes, I do think they believe that.
Yes,
I mean,
a simple answer from Mr. Jeff Charles. Yes, they do. Now, please carry on.
Yeah, really. But here's the thing. I mean, yeah, especially when it comes to Alex Jones. I mean, there are things that he said that have turned out to be true. I mean, I'm not really a fan of his, but still, I think what happens is this is a practice called nut picking. You make it sound like everybody on the right is Alex Jones, when it's really only a certain subset of the right that actually listens to Alex Jones. And on top of that, the numbers of people who take his word as gospel are minuscule. So, but what the activist media will do is they will make it sound that minuscule percentage represents somehow most of the right or the entire conservative movement. And they know what they're doing. And the thing is, they believe that their audience is gullible. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they're right, because they buy this stuff hook, line, and sinker.
Okay, I think we can both agree, though, that this connecting of Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, it has an ulterior mission behind it. Jones himself has been cancelled by just about every platform out there. He's persona non grata on a majority of channels. Is tying Tucker Carlson into this a not so subtle attempt to give him the same fate?
That is 100% the intention behind it. I mean, look, Stelter could have just said, I disagree with Tucker Carlson. I'm going to debunk his argument. Here are my points. But he used this tactic to try to put him in the same camp as Alex Jones. And the thing is, they've been trying to cancel Tucker Carlson for years. So this is just yet another brick in that wall, so to speak, to quote Pink Floyd. I mean, this is the yet another thing that they're trying to do to try to set Carlson up to be canceled. Now, is it going to work? No, it's not, but that doesn't mean that they won't stop trying.
Jeff Charles, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll be right back after this break on Liberty Nation Radio. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.